Hi, I'm Daniel from Ratings.com. Today we're testing the Samsung Q70R. It's a 2019 Samsung QLED TV, which sits above the Q60R in the lineup with the notable addition of local dimming. The next model up in the series is the Q80R, so in this video we will closely compare with these two models to show the performance differences from our testing. We bought the US 55-inch model to test, but it's also available in a wide range of sizes, from 49 inches up to 82 inches. We expect these other sizes to have very similar picture quality and performance. The 49-inch has a lower refresh rate 60Hz panel, and we'll talk about the effect of this later on in the video. The Q70R is also available in other regions, like Canada and the UK, and while there are differences in the full model code, we expect them to also offer the same performance. In this video, we'll start by looking at the design of the TV and then move on to the picture quality. We'll look at the motion handling, input lag, and sound, and then compare to other competing models which are currently available. If you'd like to skip straight to our test results, then see the links in the description down below. The design of the Q70 is excellent. It looks very similar to other Samsung TVs, like the Q8FN from last year. It has the typical Samsung stand that supports the TV well, but it does require a larger table, as it's almost as wide as the TV. The controls are located under the Samsung logo at the front of the TV and serve as a D-pad to access a wide range of functions. Moving around to the side of the TV, it is relatively thin, which is great. Unlike the higher-end Samsung models, the Q70R doesn't support Samsung's no-gap wall mount, but still doesn't stick out too much. The back of the TV is made of good quality plastic and has horizontal ridges that run along the entire surface. Similar to other Samsung TVs, it includes guide tracks for cable management, and the back of each leg is hollow to allow for the cable to run through them. Unlike last year's Q7FN, the Q70R doesn't come with an external One Connect box. The build quality is excellent and you should have no issues with the TV. All of the inputs are directed out of the side of the TV, so while you can reach them if the TV is wall mounted, it isn't as easy as the models with a One Connect box like the Q90R. Looking at a thermal image of the TV, the entire TV has a relatively even heat distribution. This is common on TVs with full array backlighting, and overall excessive heat shouldn't be an issue. Now we'll move on to the picture quality. We'll be comparing to currently available TVs, but competing models may change as new TVs are released throughout the year. For an updated comparison with new models as we buy and test them, see the review page on our website, which is linked down below. We will start with the contrast ratio. A high native contrast is important to produce deep blacks, especially in scenes that local dimming isn't as effective. This tends to be scenes with bright and dark areas close together. The Q70R has an excellent contrast ratio that allows it to display deep blacks in a dark room. The native contrast ratio is among the highest that we've measured so far on LED TVs. This is better than TVs with IPS-type panels, like some of the LG LCD TVs. Now, local dimming is also very important to produce deep dark scenes. The Q70R has full array local dimming, unlike last year's Q7FN, which was edge-lit, and is also a distinguishing feature when compared to the Q60R that lacks local dimming. This results in deeper blacks on the Q70R for those who watch in the dark. Just like with all Samsung TVs that have local dimming, when subtitles appear, you might notice distracting brightness changes in the scene. Now, if you sometimes watch from an angle or have a wide seating arrangement, then good viewing angles are important to ensure an accurate image off-axis. Like most TVs with VA-type panels, the image of the Q70R degrades when viewed from an angle. Gamma shifts and the black level raises, so the best image is reserved for those directly in front. This is a significant difference from the Q80R, which includes an additional optical layer to improve the image at an angle. If you have wide seating, then it may be worth going with the Q80R instead. OLED TVs like the C9 also remain accurate at an angle, although the colors do shift. Now, good reflection handling is important for those who have rooms with a lot of light. The Q70R offers very good performance with a semi-gloss finish that helps to diffuse reflections across the screen. It's in the same ballpark as the Q60. The Q80R has one of the best anti-reflective coatings that we've seen, so if you've got a bright room, then it may be one of the best choices. The LG C9 produces interesting results, as it has a glossy screen, but the anti-reflective coating also reduces the intensity of reflection significantly. There is a purple tint though, which some people don't like. So on to the brightness. This is another important factor for those in a room with a lot of light. We measure the peak brightness of every TV on a real scene test pattern as well as on different sized white windows. The Q70R has a great brightness, so shouldn't have any problems in most rooms. It isn't as bright as the Sony X950G or the Samsung Q80R, but can still produce a bright enough image in SDR. If you watch HDR content, then a high peak brightness allows the TV to produce bright highlights. We measure this in a similar way to the SDR brightness, but this time with an HDR signal. Our real scene measurement corresponds most closely to what you can experience with bright highlights in real content, but we also measure a range of window sizes. The Q70R is able to produce bright highlights in our real scene test pattern and offers great performance when we compare it to a distribution of all the TVs we've tested. It also maintains a similar brightness until the size of the white windows increase to more than 25% of the screen area, which is good. This means that the change in brightness won't be very noticeable in normal content. Now, the HDR format allows for a wider range of colors in the source content. To take advantage of these more saturated colors or highlights, a TV requires a wide color gamut. The Q70R does have a wide color gamut, which is good, but it isn't quite as good as the Q7FN or Q8FN from last year. It does offer a small improvement over the Q60R from this year and is in the same ballpark as the Sony X950G and LG C9. This can make it a great choice for those who care about vivid colors in HDR. We also measure the EOTF, or electro-optical transfer function, of each HDR TV. This measurement shows how the brightness of the TV changes depending on the signal level or stimulus. The yellow line in this plot is the reference PQ curve, or the brightness that an ideal TV should follow. This reference line is unachievable by any TV at the moment though, so every TV has a way to tone map the input signal to the display's capabilities. Depending on the metadata of the HDR signal, the Q70 performs a bit different. For content that is mastered at 1000 nits of brightness, we can see that the Q70R slightly exceeds the reference yellow curve for much of the input range. This isn't a big difference, but some people might prefer it because it results in a slightly brighter image. This is a problem for video enthusiasts though, as it doesn't correspond to how the content was mastered. Now, we also take a photo of a 50% gray on each TV. This is because it shows well any uniformity issues on the screen, which result in distracting areas known as the dirty screen effect. These problems can be particularly bothersome for watching sports or playing video games. Note that this does vary between units, but we tend to find that this photo provides an indication of the manufacturer's level of quality control, or any issues that are a result of the design and construction of the model. Our Q70R does have darker edges, which can be bothersome, as well as some uniformity issues, especially at the center of the screen. Unfortunately, we've found that this is common among all of the Samsung full array TVs that we've tested, so even the higher end Q80 and Q90 offer similar results. If this bothers you, then an OLED TV like the C9 may be a better choice. We'll now move on to the motion tests. If you'd like to learn more about motion on TVs, then see our video series, which is linked down below. For those who watch sports or game, a fast response time is important to reduce the amount of motion smearing. The Q70R has a very fast response time, which is typical of many new LCD TVs. This is excellent and results in clear motion without much blur trail. The small amount of smearing is barely visible on the left-hand side of our moving logo photo as a slightly darker region. If you want the lowest amount of blur when gaming, then this TV also has an option to adjust the flicker of the backlight, a feature known as black frame insertion. It works well as it can flicker at 60 FPS, which is good for avoiding blur or duplications with most 60 FPS games. You can see the effect of this when looking again at our moving logo photo. The input lag of a TV refers to the time between an event occurring in-game and when you see it on the screen. A low input lag is important for gamers for a more responsive feel and to react quicker to actions in-game. The input lag of the Q70R is very similar to the input lag of other Samsung TVs like the Q90R and Q60R. The TV reacts almost immediately to your actions, which is great if you're a gamer. Unfortunately, there is a bug at the moment on this and other 2019 Samsung TVs. When in game or PC mode, the TV will accept a 120Hz signal, but won't display it without skipping every second frame. True 120Hz support is possible in movie mode, but does result in a slightly higher input lag. We expect this to be fixed in the future, but you can see our review if you'd like to learn more. There is also the option to interpolate low frame rate content while keeping input lag low, which many people like for low frame rate games and is currently a feature unique to high-end Samsungs. This adds some input lag, but results in a much smoother image. This TV also supports automatic low latency mode, which is a neat feature that allows the TV to change automatically to game mode when this Xbox or another console triggers it when a game opens. Samsung's QLED models, including the Q70, support a variable refresh rate feature. This feature allows the display to keep in synchronization with the changing frame rate of demanding games. It is useful for gamers on a new Xbox or PC with FreeSync support and prevents screen tearing. It works well and doesn't cause a change in the amount of input lag, which is great. Now, this TV has the same Tizen-based smart platform as other Samsung TVs. It is very intuitive and easy to use, as everything can be accessed from the home bar on the bottom of the screen. The remote also works well with it, and it is very simple, but provides a lot of functionality. There is also a Bixby voice assistant, which works well. Unfortunately though, like many new TVs, there can be ads in the smart platform, including the home screen. Whether you see ads depends on if someone is paying to advertise to you, so you may have different results. Onto the sound. The Samsung Q70R has decent sound quality. It can get reasonably loud, but not loud enough for noisy environments. Its bass provides a decent amount of punch, but it can't produce any rumble or thump. For better sound, it is recommended to add a dedicated soundbar or speakers. So overall, the Q70R is an impressive TV that performs well for many different usages. It is best suited to a dark or medium lit room though, due to the high native contrast that allows it to produce deep blacks. The Q80R is the next step up in the lineup and is a better choice for those with a bright room or wide seating. This is because it has an additional optical layer that enhances the image when viewed off-center, and it also offers better reflection handling. If you've got a dark room, then between the Q70 and the Q80, the best performance will depend on the scene, as the Q70 has a high native contrast ratio, but the Q80 has better local dimming with more zones. The Sony X950G and the Samsung Q70R both have similar performance. The Sony has marginally better reflections, which is great if you have a room with many light sources. The Samsung, on the other hand, delivers deeper and more uniform blacks in a dark room, thanks to the high contrast ratio and excellent black uniformity. It also supports some additional features for gamers, like low input lag with interpolation and FreeSync variable refresh rates. Depending on your use, an OLED TV like the C9 or an LCD TV like the Q70 may be a better choice. OLED TVs are able to produce perfect blacks and tend to have better uniformity in most scenes. On the other hand, the Q70R can get the whole screen much brighter to fight glare or just produce a brighter image, and also doesn't have the risk of permanent burn-in. For a full comparison between any of these models, see the links in the description down below. So that's it. What do you think of the Q70? Do you prefer its higher contrast or the Q80 with wider viewing angles and better anti-reflective coating? Let us know down below. You can check out all of our measurements on our website. And if you like this video, subscribe to our channel or become an insider on the website to get access to our test results first. Also, we're currently hiring in our offices in Montreal for various positions, so if you want to help people find the best product for their needs, have a look at the careers page on our website. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.